Good morning. Welcome to the Masters of Travel series. And this is episode 5. And my name is John Werner. I'm the president of MAST Travel Network, a network of travel advisors numbering about 1,000 travel advisors in our network. And with experience and expertise to plan trips all over the world. And today I have with me Kelly Ortiz. And she just returned from Disney World several weeks ago, or maybe a month or so ago. And so welcome, Kelly. We'd welcome to the show, and looking forward to talking about your experience to Disney World.
Thank you so much for having me, John. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So one of the things that I thought everybody wants to know, especially getting out there and traveling again, is what was it like at O'Hare? Or did you go out of Midway?
We went out of O'Hare.
Okay.
So, yes, on American Airlines.
American? Okay. What was it like at O'Hare when you arrived on the day you were departing?
So I'm not going to lie, I was very nervous leading up to getting on the flight. I didn't think I would be, but it hit me all of a sudden, and I'm like, oh wow, I haven't done this in forever. So we got there, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that everybody was keeping their distance. Everyone had their mask on, and when we got to the gate, that was kind of where I was going to be a little bit nervous as well, because of course my kids wanted to eat. So we found seats, and the nice thing was everyone naturally kept their space. We found a little section against the wall. Nobody was behind us. I wiped all the seats down. I felt very comfortable. American made several announcements prior to getting on the plane just to let us know that there would be no food and beverage service, that we were welcome to purchase food and beverage prior to boarding. They would be handing us a little snack bag upon boarding. So they reminded us about the mask wearing policy as well.
Okay, well, it's great. It sounds like, people that have started traveling understand the drill now. I mean, they know what they are supposed to do and need to do. So
I didn't see any issues, honestly, at all. Like, I felt completely at ease once we got to the airport and to the gate and boarded the plane.
Okay. Was the flight to Orlando full?
It was, I'm going to say, about 3/4 full.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were lucky, and we didn't have to, we had people in front of and behind us, but our row, where we were a party of 4, my husband didn't sit next to anybody. So it was me and the 2 boys, and then my husband was in the aisle right next to us. So it was very nice.
All right. And everything went smooth and, just like normal.
Yeah. So when we deplaned, when we got into Orlando, they had made an announcement asking that we do 1 row at a time. And I was like, oh, yeah, right. Nobody's going to listen to this, because you know how it is when you deplane. Everybody's very anxious to get their bags and get up. And it was amazing. Like, everybody stayed in their seat. Everybody 1 row at a time. Nobody was crowding the aisle. It was very nice. Very, very nice.
Good. Very good. And how was the Orlando airport when you got inside?
It was totally fine. When you get off, you're looking around a little bit, but you're just anxious to kind of get to your destination. We were like, wow, we can't believe we're going to Disney. This was so exciting. So we kind of ran through there, but everyone was wearing a mask, and it was not crowded. Usually when you get to Orlando, there's like tons and tons of people, and you're trying to feed through the crowds, but it felt very comfortable. I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. They have a tram that you have to get into to get to the terminal to get your baggage, and that felt fine as well. Usually that's super crowded, but it felt totally fine.
Okay, good. So then how did you get yourself and your family to Disney?
So we opted to use Magical Express. At first, I thought about using a private car, but I really wanted to see what the experience was going to be like using Disney's Magical Express. So there were a couple differences there. When we got there, they had a lot of signs right away letting us know that we were required to wear masks at that point. and they had staff members, and then they had within the Magical Express lines, they had us distanced, I'm going to say about 12 feet from each family. So they were like little boxes per resort. And I think that's because Disney's no longer utilizing the luggage service right now. So it used to be that Disney would pick up your luggage for you from the airport, and all you had to do was just get to the Magical Express line and get to your hotel, and your luggage would magically appear.
Yeah.
But that's no longer happening right now. It's
Okay.
temporarily delayed. It's temporarily disabled at this time.
Yeah.
So we got our luggage, we got there, and we definitely needed that 12 feet of space.
Okay.
And at that point, they were really asking you to stay away from other parties, everyone wear your mask. It looked fantastic. There was nobody around. But when we got there, they had all the boxes filled. So we were asked to kind of step aside and just wait, and they would come get us when it was our turn to get in line again. So that took about 10 minutes. The whole process took about 45 minutes.
Okay.
Through,
all right.
Even though it didn't look crowded at all. So we were surprised to see that it took 45 minutes, a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
They're taking 20 people on the Magical Express at this time. So you can imagine that's why the process is a little bit delayed.
Yeah.
And you'll stop at 2 to 3 properties on the way to your property.
Oh, okay. Which property did you stay at?
We stayed at Disney's Bay Lake Tower, part of the Contemporary Resort.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's convenient, of course, to the Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very convenient.
So when you arrived at the resort, and I know you've been to Disney so many times, and so you're used to, the check-in process and all that being a certain way. What was different this time?
So they had signs right when we got there. Of course, they were very welcoming, but they were also very clear that they had wanted us to check in online prior to arrival. That was very important. They don't want you going to the front desk. So they had cast members right by the signs asking you your room number right upon arrival, and they would tell you if you needed to go left or you needed to go right based on the stair bank or the elevator bank in that area. So very, very welcoming, but also you can see that their process has been very well practiced. So they're trying to keep crowds out of the lobby. We happen to have groceries delivered, so we just needed to go to Bell Services quickly just to tell them that our groceries that were delivered, and those were up to our room within minutes. Like, I had just gotten up to the room and was opening the door, and then the gentleman with the Bell Services was standing there with our groceries. Super quick process. Very, very, very well done.
So if other families want to do what you did as far as grocery delivery, are there refrigerators and microwaves in the room?
Yeah, so we were lucky, and this time we stayed in a 1-bedroom villa, so we had a full kitchen. But if you're not staying in a 1-bedroom villa, all of the Disney resorts have a fridge, and some have a microwave. And the fridge is a little bit larger than a college-sized fridge, so you can fit like a half gallon of milk. We usually will either order cereal and bagels and things to the room, or I bring dry cereal and pick up the milk in the gift shop there. This time we wanted a little bit more just because we weren't sure how much we'd be eating out. Right.
Yeah, I guess, I don't, I'm going to ask you a question in a few minutes about the restaurants and so forth, but you talked about the health and safety protocols at the resorts, and then in the parks themselves, I know that there's been a couple of changes in guidelines about wearing masks, and so could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, so Disney has a very strict policy on mask wearing. So once you're going to enter their bubble, that really starts at Magical Express, or if you're driving in, it starts at the Welcome to Walt Disney World gates. You will be required to wear a mask if you're over the age of 2. And they have a zero tolerance policy on that. So at this time, They won't accept any doctor's notes or anything as far as everyone is required to wear a mask at that time. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and I also know that they made a change when you're eating and drinking, you can have your mask off, but then what some people were doing is walking around the park with food and drinks in hand, and so they said you have to be stationary.
Correct, yes. And so when we went, we were able to walk around with a drink, and you would kind of sling your mask over, take a drink and put it back. But for the most part, it's kind of hard in the heat anyways to walk around with food. And so we found that naturally we were distancing and finding a little corner to stand in with our ice cream or our snack anyway. But yes, people were trying to walk around with their drink in their mouth the whole time.
Yeah, right.
So Disney took care of that very quickly. So.
Yeah, no, I know they were on top of it.
Yeah.
So did it seem like, I know that some people might think, oh gosh, if the experience isn't going to be what I'm used to, maybe I will hold off going for now. But what did you observe as far as other guests and so forth? How were they having a great time and enjoying themselves?
Yeah, so definitely I was of the party, very curious. I knew that we would love it, but I also was curious about, is the magic still there with things not being the same? Because it definitely, Disney's been very clear that the experience has changed, but the magic is still there. So I wanted to test that theory and see what I thought. Yes, I feel like it was a whole new world. Disney really stepped in and found ways to surprise their guests with characters around different corners that you're never usually expecting them, and these little pop-up parades would come through, and they're really quick, so they didn't cause any need for a line. One time we were at Animal Kingdom when we were walking over a bridge, and my son said, "Oh, Mom, what is that?" And we looked over to the right. We were the only people on the bridge. And a boat was coming through with music on it and characters waving at us. So it felt very intimate and very, a whole new Disney. Like, surprises around every corner that we wouldn't even be looking for.
Right.
So we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, that's great. It sounds like Disney, obviously known for creativity and innovation, and in these times they have found a way to do that as well.
Yeah, it's kind of neat actually to see them rise to the occasion and take it and put their own spin on things and still be able to have the fun that we all look forward to at Disney.
Yeah, fantastic. Back at the resort, and one of the questions I came to mind is about the pools. Were the pools open? Can you use the pools?
Yes, so that was definitely one of the areas that I was kind of most curious about, because there were a lot of conflicting pieces of information on how that was going to work. So the pools were definitely open. They did have shortened hours, and I believe it was till 8 p.m. that they were open. So as you leave your room and walk down to the pool, obviously you're going to be wearing your mask. When you enter the pool to find your seat, they're asking you not to move chairs, not to move the seats or the tables anywhere. They have them where they want them.
Okay.
And they do watch. So if people try to move them, they very nicely will come back and kind of ask you to put it back. Once you get to your seat, you can remove your mask. So if you're gonna, sit there and sunbathe or read a book, you do not have to have your mask on. But if you're going to get up and go to the pool bar or the restroom, they ask that you put your mask back on. It's a little bit like dining out here at home as well. And when you're in the pool, you do not have to wear a mask. We were not by anybody in the pool. We felt like it was distanced properly. People kept their space. Nobody, forgot about their manners in the pool. It was very nice, and kids were going down the slides, and it was really a nice, warm welcome to see people having fun outside.
Oh, that's good. As far as the Disney transportation system, getting around from resort to resort or the different parks, how did you find that working?
So we used all of the modes of transportation. I wanted to try everything. We tried Lyft. We also did use the monorail, and we also used the Disney buses and the ferry boat. So we'll start with the monorail. The monorail is right there located at the Contemporary, so it made it really easy to use. One of the neat things about that is you get a car to yourself. So it's kind of a nice, unique experience. Plus it's air conditioned, so that was very nice. And they did a great job of assigning you to a car or walking you and kind of pointing you. You can get in this one or in this one or in this one. Because the crowds are less, they're able to take that extra attention to detail.
Sure.
Busing was a little bit more cumbersome. Now, the value resorts have queues to get into your bus. So that's a little bit easier because they have their social distancing mark and everybody's in that line waiting for the bus to show up. But moderate, deluxe, and villa resorts do not have queues. You kind of just sit on a bus bench waiting, and then everybody gets up in crowds. So what I recommend is that people create a line. And they do have lines on the floor for you to create it, but if you don't create the line, it's going to cause a little bit of an issue when the bus gets there. Because the driver comes, he gets off the bus, and he takes about 20 people. But they have to be arranged almost like a Tetris type thing on the bus. And so it's not always 20 people. Sometimes it could be 19, depending on the size of the parties.
Okay.
So my tip for that would be to make sure that you're in a line when you get to the bus stop, and people will naturally stand behind you if you get in line.
Right. Yeah.
So that was good. And then we did try Lyft a couple times, and that came quick. And our Lyft drivers, some of them had little pods in their cars, which was cool. All of them had hand sanitizer. All of them were wearing masks. So we felt great about that. And you're not allowed to sit in the front seat. Okay. So being we were a party of 4, we had to pay extra for a larger Lyft vehicle so that we could, usually someone can sit in front, but this time that we couldn't.
Okay.
So that's a little something to know. And the ferry boats are operating like normal, and people keeping their distance as well.
Okay. So, and then when you, what was it like getting into the parks? What was that process?
So when you are leaving, it kind of depends which resort you're at. So when we were leaving Bay Lake, a couple times we walked from Bay Lake to Magic Kingdom, and along the pathway they had a little medical stand where you would have to stop and get your temperature taken. The first time we did that, my husband's temperature was a little elevated because it was about 100 degrees out. So they had him step aside and wait a minute to cool off, and then they checked it again, and it was totally fine. So we walked right through, but the process is very quick. When you see a line there, you're thinking, how long is this going to take? But they really have a process, and it goes very quickly.
Okay.
They are no longer going through your bags. They used to go through all of your bags. You walk right through the security, and if everything goes off, then you have to step aside, and they'll work with you there. But we didn't have that problem because they had us take out anything metal, put it in a bin, and then move forward. So. Okay. So when you leave from the monorail transportation from your hotel, you get your temperature and security check done at the hotel. So that's a little bit different if you're staying, at Grand Floridian, Polynesian, or Contemporary Bay Lake. And they checked our temperatures there, went through security, and then we got to the park, and it was very quick.
Mm-hmm. And then, so once you're through the gate, do you have to go through any extra processes, or you just go?
Nope, you just go. Then once you're in there, it's business as usual with the mask on and lower crowds. Okay.
So yeah, really very still convenient. Certainly doesn't sound like a hassle in any way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're comfortable because everybody's been checked at the gate, and you feel like, it's kind of like you got past that point and you can, have some fun.
Sure. So once inside the park, Were all the attractions open in all the parks, or were some attractions still closed?
So Disney's always doing construction, as we know. So their regular refurbishment schedule is still active, which can be found at Disney.com, so you can see what the active refurbishment schedule is. But aside from that, everything's going except for the regular parades that happen, like the 3 o'clock parade that happens, or the nighttime fireworks. Those things are not taking place right now, temporarily suspended.
Okay.
Rides are all available as long as they're not under refurbishment.
Oh, okay. So yeah, no problems there. What's your favorite attraction in each of the parks?
Oh gosh. Okay. Magic Kingdom. Let's say Space Mountain. That will have to be my favorite. Epcot. Ooh, Test Track.
Okay.
Animal Kingdom, Flights of Passage. And Tower of Terror for Hollywood Studios, with a new runner-up of, I know you said it has to be one, but the new Rise of the Resistance is amazing. I can't even explain what it is because I don't want to ruin it, but it's about 18 minutes long and it's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, well, you like all the thrill rides, the fast thrill rides.
I do. But I like all the little classic ones too.
Yeah.
But yes, I do like thrill rides.
Oh, that's great. So as far as food and beverage experience in the parks, why don't you talk about that a little bit?
So that's one of my favorite parts of Disney. I was very curious to see something as simple as, can I get refillable popcorn? Because that's definitely a favorite.
Sure.
And you can. So that they did a great job of that. If you have that refillable popcorn that's so famous at Disney, they'll give you, they won't physically fill it up for you, but they'll give you popcorn in a little paper bag that you can pour into your jar, which is nice. And you can also do all of your quick service dining, but not all of it's available. So what you have to do is go on your My Disney Experience app when you're there, pull up the dining and click on quick service to see what's open at the park you're in. It'll automatically pop up, so that's really nice. And then you have to do mobile ordering. You order your food that way and then walk up to the restaurant to let them know you're there. So it's a little bit different than before. You can't just walk up. And the reason being is because the quick service area, the lines are always very long. Everyone's kind of jammed in there to place their orders. This is the way that they're keeping the lines at bay. Yeah. And they're also having the food prepared as you're arriving. So we found that to be really nice. It was much quicker than waiting in a long line inside the restaurant. So we loved it. We could also pick a window. So we might have been on Pirates of the Caribbean. We're saying we're hungry. So we would click that we want to eat in 45 minutes and pick our food, and then walk up to the restaurant, click that we're here, and the food would be prepared.
Yeah.
So very, very nice.
Yeah.
Tables were distanced on the indoor area. So if you want to sit inside because of, air conditioning, famous Florida heat, you can. And as far as the sit-down meals, so if you're going to do an actual table service, those are still operating. Of course, there are some that are not available right now at this time temporarily, but you also will need a dining reservation, or you can do a walk-up now, which is brand new, and ask if they have any availability. Check on your phone. But when you get to your restaurant, let's say you're going to Kona Cafe at Polynesian, as you arrive 15 minutes before, you can let them know that you're there, and then they will text you when your table's ready. So they ask that you kind of disperse a little bit, and they'll text you, and then you can walk up and get into the restaurant right away.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, restaurants around here too are doing things like that, but
very similar.
Yeah, that ordering ahead of time and having your food ready when you arrive, that sounds like something they should continue to do after this is all over.
I'm kind of hoping, yes. And it's kind of keeping the crowds and the cleanliness, and I believe the frustration down, because you have to, nobody wants to be hangry when they're at Disney. So, so it's good to kind of pre-plan a little bit. But the one thing you need to have at Disney is your phone. You have to make sure you have a fully powered phone.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something that we saw to be a theme. So as you can see from the various little things that we've talked about, just from transportation to eating, you definitely need a phone. And no menus either. You have to click QR code.
Yeah, sure. So, so then I have to ask you, what is your favorite overall restaurant anywhere at Disney?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. I'm gonna have to go with the Ohana at Polynesian. Yeah, I love Ohana. Love the location. Love the resort. But I there's very few that I would say that I don't need to go to again.
Right. Yeah, I know. There's so many good ones. What was your interaction with cast members like?
They were so happy to be there. We like to get to the park first thing in the morning, and one of my favorite things to do is just to see them on Main Street waving with the little Mickey hand. They were so welcoming, and they appeared to be very grateful to have us there. They had plenty of cast members standing around if you had questions. You could also interact with the cast member via text through the app. So if you had questions that way about anything, you can do that as well. And we tried that once, and that worked too. So that was very nice. But everybody was super professional, and the show had begun. Once we were there, they were ready.
They were. Oh, that's wonderful. And did you go to Disney Springs?
We did. Yeah.
Okay.
We visited twice. Yeah, and it was Disney Springs as usual. You do have to get your temperature checked when you get there. And it was a little bit more crowded because you can get some locals in there as well. Right. But Disney is doing a great job of keeping the shopping at bay. I would say that if you are somebody who has not been around shopping crowds, that maybe hold off on that a little bit right now. But other than that, if you've been going into Target and Walmart and things like that, it's going to be the same type of experience. You wait in line to get in, people are shopping, and you're kind of getting a little mixture of some more locals and the Disney crowd people at Disney Springs.
Okay. I heard, well, I know the water parks have been closed all this time, but I did read the other day that one of the parks might be opened after the first of the year or something.
March 7th. So those will be, they're tentatively, that's their penciled in plan is March 7th if they can open safely. And I don't believe that they've told us which one yet. I think it's going to be one of the parks, but they haven't said. And so we're kind of, it's a wait and hold at this point.
That's great. Well, I know with fall upon us now and the holidays fast approaching, you know, how some of the well-known events at Disney this time of the year, like Epcot's Food and Wine Festival or Halloween, of course, all the holiday parades and festivities, you know, what do you know how they're going to be handling all of that? I guess some of those things will go on, but they, of course, will be different, but.
So Disney started, it was a taste of the Food and Wine Festival back in July, and it's continuing through November, about the second week of November. And so each week they're opening a new food booth, getting into we're pretty full blown right now, Disney Food and Wine Festival, which is fantastic. Of course, that'll draw in a little bit more of a crowd, but Disney still has their capacity there, so their park reservations.
Sure.
System. And so that looked very similar to the way it's looked in the past. I didn't see any differences. We did try some things, spectacular as usual. As far as the Halloween, they are not having that Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party this year, but they're decorating and they're having little pop-up Boo to You parade sections coming through the park daily, which is very nice. Yeah. Because people do look forward to that. So what's nice about that is the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party has always been a paid event. So if you have not paid for that event, maybe you haven't seen those parades before. But now, if you're just in the park, you can experience a little taste of it, which is nice.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And we'll actually be there on Halloween this year, so I'll be able to tell you what they're doing on Halloween in Magic Kingdom that day. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I just was going to ask you if you're going back to Disney anytime soon, and it sounds like you are.
Yeah.
Any other trips back there or anywhere?
Yeah, so we are headed to Disney. We'll be there for almost 10 days. So we're going to overlap Halloween into Christmas. So I'll be able to tell you about that as well after that experience to see like how they kind of switched that over within that week. And then I'm headed to Cabo and Cancun.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, you'll have lots of experiences to help your clients oh, that's wonderful. It sounds like Disney then is, they've really taken a lot of care, all the hygiene and sanitation, and of course they got the face mask thing down pat. It's really good to hear, and it sounds like everybody's doing their part too to make sure that the parks can stay open and people can enjoy themselves.
Yeah, really, honestly, I think leading up to it, I was thinking, oh my gosh, it seems like a logistical nightmare. How are they going to not only set up their technology to accommodate everything, but also how do you control crowds in this time? But they pulled it off without a hitch, in my opinion. Of course, there's probably bloopers on certain things, but I really thought they did a great job. The other area that we kind of, I wanted to talk about was the lines.
Yeah.
Disney's put up a lot of barriers in between so that when you're standing in a line, there's people to the left and the right of you. So it was really nice to see that they put up a lot of plexi. So you could comfortably stand in your space without feeling like, gosh, if that person next to me sneezes or bumps me,
Yeah.
so, or their kid goes under or something, everything seems very separated. And in areas where they even put attention in areas where you kind of turn a corner, you might cross paths with somebody, there's a stop line there. So you can't go any further until those people move. It's very, very, you could see an engineer must have come in and really put a lot of thought into that.
Yeah.
And sanitizer at the front of the line and also as soon as you get off the ride. So,
Okay.
Yeah, my kids made a joke that they wanted to try every hand sanitizer station in all 4 parks. So
Yes.
that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, Disney they are the masters at crowds and lines and all that kind of stuff. So, so Kelly, any other thoughts, final thoughts?
I really feel that I just want to say, and I know that it's got to be your comfort level. If you're ready to travel and you miss Disney or you want to experience it, I personally think that you will have a fantastic time at Disney if you go now. Think about your little ones, and they don't know what they're missing. So don't look at what's not there. Look at what is there. And I was excited to be part of the history. I know my kids were too. This is just one little step in Disney history, and to be able to experience it without the crowds and with all the safety measures in place was something that I felt very honored to be able to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's great advice to follow. So, Kelly, I really appreciate your time today and sharing your Disney experience with us. And we look forward to hearing about your future visits.
Thanks, John. I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much to you and all the MAST staff.
Well, take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.